I still remember the exact moment my hands started shaking. Not from fear, not from age, but from pure rage so intense I thought I might actually combust right there in my own kitchen. The kitchen where I'd raised 2 children, where I'd cried over my husband Robert's death 6 years ago, where I'd baked Tyler's birthday cakes every single year since he was born. And there he was, my 23-year-old grandson, standing in front of me with his arms crossed like some corporate executive about to fire an underperforming employee. "Grandma, starting today, you don't get to decide anything around here anymore. Just obey me." The words hit me like a physical slap. I actually took a step back, my hip bumping against the marble counter I'd picked out myself when Robert and I renovated this place 15 years ago. $280,000 we spent on this kitchen. Every tile, every fixture, every carefully chosen detail represented hours of my work, my sweat, my decisions. And this boy, this child, who'd been living under my roof rent-free for 4 months, just told me I didn't get to decide anything. Behind him, his girlfriend Sienna stood in the doorway with this smile on her face. Not a pleasant smile. A victorious one. Like she'd just won some game I didn't even know we were playing. Her phone was in her hand, angled just slightly in my direction. Recording. The little witch was actually recording this moment. "Excuse me," I managed to say, though my voice came out stronger than I felt. 25 years of running my own business taught me never to let them see you rattled, even when your insides are screaming. Tyler sighed, like I was being difficult on purpose. "You heard me. Sienna and I have been talking, and we think it's time for some changes around here. You're getting older, and honestly, some of your decisions lately have been pretty questionable." Questionable. My decisions were questionable. This from a boy who'd sent out exactly 12 job applications in 4 months and spent the rest of his time playing video games in what used to be my guest room. This from someone who'd racked up $800 on my credit card last week alone, buying designer athleisure he wore to sit on my couch. "What decisions would those be, Tyler?" I asked, buying myself time to process what was actually happening here. Sienna stepped forward then, her cheap perfume entering the room before she did. "Well, for starters, you really don't need to be driving anymore. That Porsche just sits in the garage most days anyway. Tyler should have access to it whenever he needs it, without having to ask permission like a child." The Porsche. Robert's Porsche. The last gift I ever gave my husband before his heart attack. The car I kept perfectly maintained, drove exactly twice a month to keep it running, and treasured as one of my last physical connections to the man I'd loved for 30 years. "That car belonged to my husband," I said quietly. "Belonged being the key word," Tyler shot back. "He's gone, Grandma. You're not even using it properly. It's just wasting away in there." Something in my chest started to crack. Not break, not yet, but definitely crack. I looked at my grandson, really looked at him. When had he become this person? I remembered a sweet little boy who used to sit on my lap and beg me to tell him stories about immigrating from Ireland. Who cried when his parents divorced and spent every weekend at my house because it was the only place that felt stable. Who told me at his high school graduation that I was his hero because I'd built something from nothing. That boy was gone. In his place stood this entitled stranger with my son-in-law's nose and my daughter's eyes, telling me I was too old to make my own decisions in my own house. "And another thing," Sienna continued, pulling out her phone and scrolling through what looked like notes. Actual notes. She'd prepared for this. "The guest room situation is getting ridiculous. Tyler and I need our privacy, and having us in the guest room while you have this massive master suite all to yourself is just selfish. We think you should move to the smaller bedroom on the 2nd floor." I laughed. I couldn't help it. The sound came out harsh and bitter, nothing like my normal laugh. "You want me to give up my bedroom? The bedroom I've slept in for 28 years? "It's the biggest room in the house," Tyler said, like this was obvious logic. "You don't need that much space. You're just one person now." Just one person. As if Robert's absence made me less deserving of comfort in my own home. As if being widowed meant I should shrink myself down, take up less space, want less, need less. I think you both need to leave my kitchen right now, I said, my voice steady despite the fury building in my chest. See, this is exactly what we're talking about, Sienna said. And I swear to God, she turned up the smugness in her voice. You're being irrational and emotional? We're trying to have a mature conversation about the household and you're shutting down. Irrational, emotional. The same words men had used to dismiss me my entire career. The same accusations I'd fought against when I was building my coffee shop business from scratch, when male suppliers tried to cheat me, when male bankers questioned my business plans. And now, here was this 22-year-old girl with 18,000 Instagram followers and no job, calling me irrational for not wanting to be demoted in my own home. Tyler moved closer to me, and for a second I saw something in his eyes that actually scared me. Not physical threat, but something colder. Calculation. Grandma, I've been doing research. At your age, with your assets, you really should have someone managing your finances. You know, to protect you. Sienna's uncle is an estate lawyer, and he said we could set up a power of attorney so I could handle things for you. Make sure you're taken care of. And there it was, the real agenda. They didn't want to take care of me. They wanted to take care of my money. $4.2 million, give or take, depending on market fluctuations. The house alone was worth $2.8 million. The Newton, Massachusetts real estate market had been good to me. Then there were my investment accounts, the payout from selling my coffee shop chain 8 years ago, Robert's life insurance, my retirement funds. I'd worked for that money, every single dollar. I'd served coffee at 5 in the morning while studying accounting at night. I'd negotiated with suppliers in 3 languages. I'd opened my first shop with a $5,000 loan from a friend because no bank would touch me. I'd built 12 locations across Massachusetts and Rhode Island over 23 years. And when I sold, I'd gotten exactly what the business was worth because I'd been smart enough to hire the best lawyers and accountants money could buy. And this boy, my own grandson, thought he could just slide in and take control because I'd made the mistake of showing him kindness when he needed a place to stay. Get out of my kitchen, I repeated. And this time, my voice wasn't steady. It shook with rage. Both of you. Now. Sienna's eyes went wide, but she recovered quickly. You see, Tyler? This is what I was telling you. She's becoming unstable. We really need to act fast before she does something damaging to the estate. The estate. My life's work was now the estate in this girl's mouth, like I was already dead and they were just waiting to divvy up the spoils. Tyler didn't move. Instead, he pulled out a folder from where he'd apparently stashed it by the kitchen door. A folder. They'd come prepared with props. We already talked to a lawyer, Grandma. We're trying to do this the easy way because we love you and want to protect you. But if you're going to be difficult about it, there are other options. Did you know that if we can demonstrate cognitive decline, we can petition for conservatorship? Conservatorship. Like Britney Spears. Like I was some incapable person who couldn't manage my own affairs. I was 58 years old, in perfect health, had just had my annual physical 3 weeks ago, where Dr. Patterson told me I had the cholesterol levels of a 30-year-old and the bone density of someone 20 years younger, thanks to my religious gym routine. You're threatening me, I said, and suddenly everything became very clear. You're standing in my kitchen, eating my food, living in my house, and you're threatening me with legal action if I don't hand over control of my finances. It's not a threat, Tyler said, and he actually had the audacity to sound hurt. It's concern. We're concerned about you. You're all alone in this big house. You're getting older, and we just want to make sure someone's looking out for your interests. My interests. Right. That's why Sienna had been measuring rooms last week, claiming she was just interested in interior design. That's why I'd found Tyler in my office 2 weeks ago, quickly closing my laptop when I walked in. That's why they'd been asking so many questions about my will, about Robert's life insurance payout, about the trust fund I'd set up for my grandchildren. I thought about that trust fund for a second. $500,000 split between Tyler and Andrew's twins when they turned 30. I'd set it up 5 years ago, wanting to give my grandchildren a foundation to build on. Tyler knew about it, had been counting on it, probably. Already spent it 100 times over in his mind. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, my voice ice cold now. The rage had crystallized into something harder, sharper. "You're going to take your folder and your threats and your girlfriend and her phone, and you're going to go upstairs to the guest room. Tomorrow morning, you're going to start looking for jobs, real jobs, and for an apartment. You have 30 days to get out of my house." Sienna's mouth dropped open. Tyler's face went red. "You can't just kick us out." "Watch me. This is my house, my name on the deed, my money that pays every single bill. You've been here 4 months and haven't contributed a single dollar to groceries, utilities, or rent. You're not a tenant, Tyler. You're a guest who's overstayed his welcome." "Mom will never let you do this," Tyler said, and there was something desperately childish in his voice suddenly. A glimpse of the boy he used to be, running to Jennifer whenever things didn't go his way. "Your mother," I said carefully, "is well aware that she created this problem by never telling you no. We've talked about it extensively. She's not going to save you this time." That was a bit of a stretch. Jennifer and I had talked about Tyler's behavior, and she'd cried and apologized and admitted she'd failed him in fundamental ways. But I hadn't actually told her I was planning to evict him. That conversation was happening tomorrow morning, whether she liked it or not. Tyler's jaw clenched. "Fine, but you're making a huge mistake. You're going to end up alone in this house. And when something happens to you, when you fall or get sick or lose your mind, you'll wish you'd been nicer to the people who actually cared about you." The cruelty of it took my breath away. The casual viciousness in his voice, the way he said it like he was stating facts instead of making threats. This was my grandson. The baby I'd rocked to sleep when Jennifer was too exhausted from her divorce. The toddler I'd taught to bake cookies. The teenager I'd helped with college applications. "Get out of my kitchen," I said, each word its own sentence. Sienna grabbed Tyler's arm. "Come on, baby. She's clearly not in a rational state right now. We'll talk to your mom tomorrow. Get her to intervene. This is elder abuse, honestly. Refusing help when you clearly need it." They left finally, and I heard them stomping up the stairs like children throwing a tantrum. I stood there in my kitchen, my sanctuary, the room I'd designed and paid for and filled with memories, and I felt violated in a way I hadn't felt since Robert died. My hands were still shaking. I looked down at them, these hands that had worked so hard for so many years, and I made a decision. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Tyler thought he could bully me, threaten me, manipulate me. He had no idea who he was dealing with. I walked to my office, locked the door behind me, and called my lawyer. Marcus Chen had been handling my legal affairs for 15 years, ever since he'd helped me with the first expansion of my coffee shops. He picked up on the second ring. "Margot, everything okay? It's almost 8 o'clock. Marcus, I need you to do something for me first thing tomorrow morning. Actually, I need several things, and I need them done quietly and quickly." I could hear him shifting, probably grabbing a notepad. "I'm listening. First, I need my will updated. I want Tyler specifically disinherited except for a token amount, $1,000. I want it explicitly stated that this is intentional, not an oversight. Can you include language about him trying to manipulate me into signing over power of attorney?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Margot, what happened?" I told him everything, every word, every threat, every disgusting moment. When I finished, he let out a low whistle. "That little bastard. Sorry, I know he's your grandson, but Jesus, Margot." "Don't apologize. You're right, so can you do it?" "Absolutely. I'll have the new will ready for signature by noon tomorrow. What else?" "I need a formal eviction notice, 30 days, legal, binding, ironclad. I want it delivered by a process server." "Done. And the third thing?" "I need you to find me a private investigator, someone good, someone discreet. I want to know everything about Sienna Caldwell, where she's from, her family, her background, her social media, her other relationships, everything. You think there's something there? Marcus, I've been reading people for 40 years. That girl is running a con, and I guarantee Tyler isn't her only target. Women like her always have a backup plan. I'll have someone on it tomorrow morning. This is going to cost a bit, you know. Investigators don't work cheap. I laughed, and this time it was genuine. Marcus, I'm worth $4 million. I think I can afford to protect myself from my own grandson. After we hung up, I sat in my office for a long time. The room was dark except for the desk lamp, and I could see my reflection in the window. 58 years old. Silver hair I'd earned through years of stress and joy and loss. Lines around my eyes from decades of smiling, frowning, living. I looked tired, I realized. When had I started looking so tired? But I didn't look weak. And I sure as hell wasn't going to let Tyler and his calculating girlfriend make me feel weak. I heard them upstairs, their voices carrying through the vents. They were arguing about something, probably about me, about how to handle the situation. I imagined Sienna was furious that her plan had hit a snag. She'd probably already started shopping for furniture for my master bedroom in her mind. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Tyler just called me crying, saying you kicked him out. Mom, what's going on? I typed back, come over tomorrow morning at 9. Bring coffee. We need to talk about what you've created. Her response was immediate. Created? He's my son. Exactly. See you at 9. I didn't sleep much that night. I kept thinking about Tyler's face when he'd threatened me with conservatorship. The coldness in his eyes. When had he learned to look at family like that? Like obstacles to be removed rather than people to be loved? But mostly, I thought about the dinner I was planning. Tyler had texted me earlier that week, asking me to make my famous pot roast this Saturday night because Sienna's parents were coming to visit from Cleveland. He wanted to show them our beautiful home and introduce them to the family. Our home. Like he had any claim to it. Like he'd contributed anything except entitlement and threats. I'd agreed to the dinner before our kitchen confrontation, but I wasn't canceling it now. Oh no, that dinner was happening, and I was going to make absolutely sure it was a meal that Tyler and Sienna would never, ever forget. I suppose I should explain how we got here, how a woman who built a coffee empire from absolutely nothing ended up being threatened by her own grandson in her own kitchen. It's not a simple story, but then again, nothing about my life has ever been simple. I came to America from County Cork, Ireland, when I was 22 years old, 1989. I had $300 in my pocket, a work visa that was questionable at best, and a dream that probably seemed ridiculous to everyone back home. My parents thought I was insane. Margot, my mother said at the airport, tears streaming down her face. You have a perfectly good job at the bank here. Why would you throw that away? But I'd seen something when I visited Boston the year before. I'd seen possibility. I'd seen a city that ran on coffee and ambition, and I knew I could make something of myself there. So I left. Got a tiny apartment in Southie with 3 other Irish girls, started working at a diner, and saved every penny I could. That's where I met Robert. He came in every Tuesday and Thursday morning, always ordered black coffee and wheat toast, always left a generous tip. He was an architect, though he was still struggling to establish himself back then. We were both strivers, both immigrants in our own way. He'd grown up in rural Maine, came to Boston for school, and never left. We understood each other's hunger to build something meaningful. We got married in 1992. City Hall ceremony, 20 people. Reception at a Portuguese restaurant in Cambridge. I was pregnant with Andrew by then, though I didn't tell anyone except Robert until after the wedding. Didn't want people thinking we had to get married. We wanted to. That was the point. Andrew was born, then Jennifer 2 years later, and I was working the whole time. Waitressing, then managing, then saving. Robert's architecture practice was growing slowly, and we needed my income. But I wasn't just working for the paycheck. I was learning, watching, seeing how businesses operated, what worked, what didn't. The coffee shop idea came from pure frustration. This was the mid-90s, before Starbucks was everywhere, and Boston's coffee scene was either cheap diner swill or pretentious European cafes that made you feel stupid for asking questions. I saw a gap, somewhere in the middle. Good coffee, comfortable atmosphere, prices that working people could afford, but elevated enough that you felt like you were treating yourself. I opened my first location in 1998 with a $5,000 loan from my friend Patricia, who'd also immigrated from Ireland and had married a banker. The shop was in Somerville, barely 800 square feet, and I did everything myself. Opened at 5 in the morning, closed at 8 at night, went home and did the books until midnight. Robert would bring the kids by after school, and they'd do homework at table 4 while I worked. It nearly killed me those first 2 years. But it worked. People loved it. Margot's Morning Cup became the neighborhood spot. Then I opened a second location, then a third. By 2005, I had 12 shops across Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and I was employing over 100 people. Robert's practice took off around the same time. He designed that beautiful library in Cambridge, won awards, started getting commercial contracts. We bought the house in Newton in 2007, $2.1 million, which felt absolutely insane at the time. But we could afford it. We'd both worked ourselves half to death, but we could afford it. Jennifer and Andrew grew up watching us build these businesses. They saw the sacrifice, the late nights, the stress. I thought they'd learned something from it. Andrew did, I think. He went to law school, works at a corporate firm now, married Diane, who's a dentist. They're both successful, both hardworking. They have 4-year-old twins and live in Brookline in a house they bought themselves. But Jennifer struggled. She was always more sensitive than Andrew, more affected by the chaos of our busy lives. She resented how much I worked, even though she benefited from it. Private schools, summer camps, college tuition, I paid in full. She met Marcus Morrison in college, married him right after graduation, and I could see it was a mistake from day one. He was charming but lazy, the kind of man who had big ideas but no follow-through. Tyler was born when Jennifer was 29, and for a while things seemed okay. Marcus had a job in sales. Jennifer was working in HR. They had a nice apartment in Quincy. I helped out when I could, babysitting, buying things for Tyler, being the grandmother I'd always wanted to be. Then Marcus lost his job, then another one, then another. The pattern became clear. He'd get hired, coast for 6 months, get fired for poor performance, and Jennifer would make excuses for him. By the time Tyler was 8, Jennifer had had enough. She filed for divorce, and Marcus moved back to Ohio where his family was. He's barely been part of Tyler's life since. Sends a card at Christmas if Tyler's lucky. Hasn't paid consistent child support in over a decade. Jennifer threw herself into work after the divorce, and I understood that. Work was how I'd survived hard times too. But the difference was, she felt guilty about Tyler. Guilty about the divorce, guilty about working long hours, guilty about not being able to give him the picture-perfect family she'd imagined. So she compensated, with things, with money, with never ever saying no. Tyler wanted expensive sneakers. Jennifer bought them, even when it meant her own rent was tight. Tyler wanted to go to that exclusive summer camp. Jennifer made it happen, even if it meant asking me for help, which I always gave because I loved them both. Tyler didn't make the basketball team and threw a fit. Jennifer called the school and complained until they created a JV-B team just to accommodate the kids who'd been cut. I watched this happening, and I tried to say something. Jennifer, you're not helping him by giving him everything he wants. He needs to learn disappointment. He needs to learn that actions have consequences. But she'd get defensive. You don't understand, Mom. You and Dad stayed together. Tyler's already dealing with so much trauma from the divorce. I'm not going to make his life harder. Robert saw it too. We'd talk about it late at night, worried about the kind of man Tyler was becoming. But what could we do? He wasn't our child to raise. We could only influence from the sidelines, be the steady grandparents who were always there for birthdays and holidays and school events. Then, Robert died. March 14th, 2019. Massive heart attack at his office. He was 63 years old, and I thought we had decades left together. The funeral was enormous. He'd touched so many lives through his work, through his kindness. Tyler was 17 then, and I remember him crying at the service, really sobbing. He'd loved his grandfather. That was real. After Robert died, I sold my coffee shops. I'd been thinking about it anyway, and without him, I couldn't find the motivation to keep going. I got $8.2 million for the business, which, after taxes and paying off business debts, left me with about $4.8 million. Combined with Robert's life insurance, our savings and investments, my total net worth settled around $4.2 million. I was 52 years old, widowed, and suddenly very, very alone in a house that felt too big and too quiet. Tyler started spending more time with me after that. He was in college by then, UMass Amherst, studying business. He'd come home on weekends, and we'd cook together, watch movies, talk about his classes. It filled something in me, having him there, made the house feel less empty, made me feel needed again. I thought we were close. I really did. He'd tell me about his dreams of starting a company, about his entrepreneurial ideas. I encouraged him, shared stories from my own business journey, even offered to mentor him if he ever got something off the ground. When he graduated last May, I was so proud. I went to the ceremony, took him and Jennifer out for dinner, gave him a check for $5,000 to invest in his future. Then, in August, he showed up at my door with those 2 suitcases. "Grandma, I hate to ask, but could I stay here for a little while, just until I get a job and save up for an apartment? The market's tough right now." Of course I said yes. He was my grandson, family. And truthfully, I was happy to have the company. The house had been so lonely. We'd have breakfast together, and he'd tell me about the job applications he was sending out, the interviews he had lined up. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? Sienna appeared about 3 weeks after Tyler moved in. "Just a friend from college," he said. Then she was staying over on weekends. Then she was there 4 nights a week. Then she just never left. I didn't even remember her officially moving in. It just happened gradually, like water eroding stone. At first, she was sweet to me. "Mrs. Sinclair, this house is gorgeous. You have such amazing taste. Tyler's so lucky to have a grandmother like you." She'd offer to help with dishes, compliment my cooking, ask about my day. I wanted to like her. I tried to like her. But little things started bothering me. The way she'd walk through rooms taking pictures for Instagram without asking. The way she'd rearrange my throw pillows to be more aesthetic for her photos. The way she'd talk about when we inherit this place to Tyler like I wasn't even there. Then came the financial stuff. Charges on my credit card I didn't recognize. Tyler had a card in case of emergencies linked to my account. But $800 at some streetwear store wasn't an emergency. A $300 dinner at a steakhouse wasn't an emergency. When I asked him about it, he got defensive. "Grandma, you have millions. This is literally nothing to you. Why are you being cheap about it?" Cheap? I'd given him a roof over his head, free food, free utilities, free everything. And he called me cheap for questioning unauthorized charges. Jennifer told me I was overreacting when I called her to vent. "Mom, he's young. He's still figuring things out. You have the money. Why not help him enjoy life a little?" But it wasn't about the money. It was about the principle, the entitlement, the complete lack of gratitude or respect. Things escalated quickly after that. I'd find Sienna in my office, looking through my papers. Tyler would use Robert's Porsche without asking and return it with the gas tank empty. They'd have friends over late at night, being loud, leaving messes. When I tried to set boundaries, Tyler would sigh like I was being unreasonable. Last week was the final straw before our kitchen confrontation. I found Sienna actually measuring my master bedroom with a tape measure. When I asked what she was doing, She didn't even have the decency to lie convincingly. Oh, just getting ideas for furniture placement. You know, for when Tyler and I eventually take over this room. We want to be prepared. Eventually. Like my death or incapacity was just a matter of time, a logistical problem to plan around. That's when I knew. This wasn't about a grandson needing temporary help. This was a calculated takeover. And I'd been so lonely, so desperate for family connection after Robert's death that I'd let it happen. I'd opened my door and my heart, and they'd seen an opportunity to exploit. But I didn't build a multi-million-dollar business by being stupid. And I sure as hell wasn't going to lose everything I'd worked for to a 23-year-old who'd never earned $1 in his life and his scheming girlfriend. The war started in that kitchen, but I was going to finish it at that dinner table. And Tyler and Sienna had no idea what was coming. Jennifer showed up at exactly 9 the next morning, looking exhausted. She had 2 large coffees from Dunkin' Donuts, which would have made me laugh under different circumstances. My daughter bringing me chain coffee when I'd built my fortune on artisanal shops. But I wasn't in a laughing mood. Mom, Tyler said you kicked him out. Tell me he's exaggerating. I took one of the coffees and led her to the kitchen table. The same table where her son had threatened me less than 15 hours ago. Sit down. We need to have a conversation we should have had years ago. She sat, and I could see the defensiveness already building in her shoulders, the way her jaw tightened. Jennifer had always been like that, ready to fight before she even knew what the battle was about. I told her everything, every word Tyler had said, the threats about conservatorship, Sienna measuring my bedroom, the credit card charges, the demands for Robert's car, the power of attorney they wanted me to sign. I watched Jennifer's face cycle through emotions, disbelief, embarrassment, anger, and finally something that looked like grief. "Oh, God," she whispered when I finished. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was—" "Yes, you did." I kept my voice gentle but firm. "Maybe not the specifics, but you knew what kind of person you were raising. You've known for years that Tyler expects the world to hand him things. You created this, Jennifer, you and your guilt about the divorce." Her eyes filled with tears. "That's not fair." "Isn't it? Tell me one time you told Tyler no. One time you let him experience real consequences for his actions." She opened her mouth, then closed it. We sat in silence for a moment. "When he was 14, she finally said, he got caught stealing a video game from Target. The security guard called me, said they could either press charges or I could handle it at home. I bought the game for him, told the guard it was a misunderstanding." "Jesus, Jennifer." "I know." She put her face in her hands. "I know, okay? I thought I was protecting him." Marcus had just missed another child support payment, and Tyler was so angry all the time. I thought if I could just make him happy, give him things, it would make up for his dad abandoning him. But it didn't make up for anything. It just taught him that he could take whatever he wanted without consequences. Jennifer was crying now, really crying. "What do I do? He's my son. I love him." "You let me handle this," I said. "You stop protecting him from reality. He needs to crash, Jennifer." Hard. And then maybe, he'll learn to build himself back up the right way. She nodded, wiping her eyes with a napkin. "The eviction notice? You're really going through with it?" "It'll be delivered by a process server tomorrow afternoon. 30 days, legally binding. And I'm having my will changed today. Tyler gets $1,000. That's it." Jennifer flinched but didn't argue. "What about me? Are you cutting me out too?" "No. You made mistakes as a mother, but you're not trying to steal from me. You're still working, still supporting yourself. You and Andrew split everything 50-50, just like I always planned. Andrew's going to be furious when he finds out about Tyler. Andrew already knows something was wrong. He mentioned it last month when they came for Sunday dinner. Said Tyler was acting entitled and you needed to do something about it." Jennifer laughed bitterly. Of course he did. Andrew always had his shit together. We talked for another hour. I told her about the private investigator I'd hired to look into Sienna, and Jennifer wasn't even surprised. I never liked her, she admitted. Too polished, you know? Like she was playing a role. Tyler's obsessed with her, though. Thinks she's his soulmate. She's his meal ticket, or at least, she thinks she is. After Jennifer left, I met Marcus Chen at his office in downtown Boston. He had all the documents ready. The new will was 23 pages of legal language that basically said Tyler had tried to manipulate me and was therefore receiving only a token inheritance to prevent him from claiming I'd forgotten him. It was specific, detailed, and ironclad. If he tries to contest this, Marcus said, he'll lose. I made sure of it. The language about his attempts to coerce you into signing over power of attorney is particularly damning. I signed every page. It felt powerful, taking control back. What about the investigator? Her name's Rebecca Torres. Former FBI, now runs her own private investigation firm. She's already started the background check on Sienna Caldwell. Should have preliminary results in 48 hours. Full report within a week. Perfect. And the eviction notice? Process server will deliver it tomorrow at 2 p.m. I scheduled it for when you mentioned Tyler usually wakes up. I smiled. Tyler liked to sleep until noon, then spend an hour on his phone before emerging from his room. The process server would be a rude awakening, literally. The next few days were tense. Tyler and Sienna barely spoke to me, which was fine by me. They'd come down for meals, help themselves to my food, then disappear back upstairs. I could hear them talking through the vents sometimes, planning their next move. Sienna kept saying they needed to document everything for when they took legal action. Tyler sounded less confident than her, but he went along with it. On Thursday afternoon, right on schedule, the doorbell rang. I was in my office and watched through the window as Tyler answered in his pajama pants and a t-shirt. The process server was a woman in her 40s, very professional. Tyler Morrison? Yeah? You've been served. She handed him the envelope and walked away. I heard him open it in the hallway. Then I heard him scream. What the fuck? Grandma! He burst into my office without knocking, Sienna right behind him. His face was red, the papers crumpled in his fist. You're evicting us? You can't do this. I can, and I did. You have 30 days. I suggest you start looking for apartments today. Boston's rental market is competitive. This is insane. We're family. Family doesn't threaten family with conservatorship. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't treat each other like obstacles to money. Sienna was on her phone, typing frantically, probably texting her uncle, the estate lawyer she'd mentioned. Good luck with that. Marcus Chen was the best lawyer in Boston. Some small-time estate attorney from Cleveland wasn't going to outmaneuver him. You're going to regret this, Tyler said, and there was real venom in his voice. When you're old and sick and alone, you're going to wish you treated us better. I'm already old, according to you, and I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who see me as a bank account. They stormed out. I heard things being thrown upstairs, raised voices, crying. Sienna was having a breakdown. Her meal ticket was evaporating. That evening, Andrew called. Mom, Jennifer told me everything. I'm so sorry. If I'd known how bad it was. It's not your job to monitor your nephew, but thank you. Do you need anything? Diane and I can come stay with you if you're worried about them doing something. I'm not worried. They're cowards. All bluster, no real spine. But I appreciate the offer. What about this dinner on Saturday? Are you still doing that? I smiled. Absolutely. In fact, I have some special plans for it. Should I be concerned? Not if you're on my side, he laughed. Always, Mom. Always. Friday morning, Rebecca Torres called. Mrs. Sinclair, I have your preliminary report on Sienna Caldwell. You're going to want to sit down for this. I was already sitting in my office, door locked. Go ahead. Sienna Marie Caldwell, 22 years old, from Cleveland, Ohio. Parents are Margaret and Tom Caldwell, both still married. Father works at a manufacturing plant. Mother's a receptionist at a dental office. Lower middle-class family, nothing remarkable. Sienna has one younger brother, currently in community college. So far sounds normal. Here's where it gets interesting. Sienna has a pattern. She dated a guy named Derek Chen, no relation to your lawyer, for 3 years in high school. Derek's family owns a successful restaurant chain in Cleveland. They broke up when she went to college, but according to her social media and phone records I was able to access, they're still in contact, regular contact, daily texts, calls once a week. My heart started beating faster. What kind of contact? Let me read you a few texts from last month. These are from Sienna to Derek. Baby, I miss you so much. This Tyler thing is almost done. Just need a few more months to secure the bag, and then I'm coming home to you. And Derek's response, how much longer? I don't like you being with that loser. Her response, his grandma's loaded, $4 million at least. I just need to get him to marry me, then divorce him and take half. Or better yet, wait for the old lady to die and get the inheritance. I felt sick, actually nauseated. She's playing my grandson. Completely. There are dozens of messages like this. She and Derek are planning to get married once she finishes the job with Tyler. She's literally documented her entire con in text messages because she's too arrogant to think she'll get caught. What else? She's got gambling debts. Online poker, about $15,000 owed to some questionable people. That's probably driving the urgency. She needs money fast. And Mrs. Sinclair, this isn't her first time doing this. In college, she dated another guy, Cameron Roberts, whose family had money. Tech millionaires. She got him to loan her $20,000 for what she claimed was a medical emergency for her mother. Then she ghosted him. He never got the money back. Can we prove all this? I have screenshots of everything. Text messages, social media posts she thought she'd deleted but are archived, bank records showing the gambling debts, statements from Cameron Roberts. It's all documented in the full report I'm sending over today. After we hung up, I sat in my office for a long time. Part of me felt vindicated. I'd known Sienna was fake, but having proof was different. Another part of me felt sad for Tyler. Yes, he'd been awful to me. Yes, he deserved consequences. But he was still my grandson, and learning that the woman he thought loved him was just using him for money was going to destroy him. But he needed to know. They both needed to be exposed. I called Marcus. I need you to do something for me. Can you print out Rebecca's report, specifically the text messages between Sienna and Derek? I want physical copies. Planning something for tomorrow's dinner? You know me too well. Margot, be careful. Cornered animals bite. So do grandmothers who've been threatened. Trust me, Marcus. I've got this. Saturday morning came. I woke up at 6, like I always did, and started cooking. Pot roast with red wine and herbs, the recipe I'd perfected over 30 years. Roasted vegetables with garlic and rosemary, homemade dinner rolls, mashed potatoes with real butter and cream, apple pie from scratch for dessert. The kind of meal that took all day to prepare and showed real love. Tyler came down around 11, surprised to see me cooking. You're still making dinner? Of course. Your girlfriend's parents are coming, aren't they? You asked me to cook. He looked confused, suspicious. Yeah, but after the eviction notice, I thought, Tyler, regardless of our disagreements, I'm not rude to guests. Your girlfriend's parents will have a lovely meal. What time did you tell them to arrive? 7. Perfect. Dinner will be ready by 7:30. Sienna appeared in the doorway, her eyes narrowed. What are you up to? I'm up to making a pot roast. Is that a crime? She didn't believe me, I could tell. But what could she do? Tell her parents not to come because Tyler's grandmother was being nice? That would raise questions she didn't want to answer. At 3, Jennifer called. Mom, I'm nervous about tonight. What are you planning? Just dinner with family. You're coming, right? You and Andrew and Diane? You told us to be here at 6:30. Good. I need witnesses. Witnesses to what? Justice, sweetheart. just justice. At 6:30, Jennifer arrived with a bottle of wine, clearly nervous. Andrew and Diane showed up 10 minutes later with the twins, who immediately ran to hug me. "Grandma Margot, Daddy said you made pie." "I did, sweet boys. Apple pie with ice cream, your favorite." The house started filling up with the smell of cooking food, the sound of family talking. This was what the house was supposed to feel like. Warm, full, alive. Not the cold, tense silence it had been lately with Tyler and Sienna skulking around like entitled ghosts. At exactly 7, the doorbell rang. Tyler rushed to answer it, and I heard him greeting Sienna's parents. "Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell, welcome. Come in, come in." I walked into the foyer to meet them. Margaret and Tom Caldwell looked exactly how Rebecca had described them, working-class people in their 50s, clearly uncomfortable in fancy clothes they probably bought just for this occasion. Tom was wearing a suit that didn't quite fit right. Margaret had on a dress with the tags still visible on the back of her neck. "Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell, I'm Margot Sinclair. Welcome to my home." Margaret's eyes were wide, taking in the chandelier, the marble floors, the artwork on the walls. "Mrs. Sinclair, thank you so much for having us. Your home is beautiful. Please call me Margot. Come into the living room. Dinner will be ready soon." Sienna was trying to control the situation, steering her parents to the couch, keeping up a running commentary about the house like a realtor showing a property. "And this is the sitting room, which has the original crown molding from when the house was built in 1897. The chandelier is Venetian glass, probably worth $50,000 alone." How would she know what the chandelier was worth? She'd probably looked it up online, calculating the value of every item in my house like she was creating an inventory for an estate sale. We made small talk for a bit. Tom worked in quality control at a manufacturing plant. Margaret was a receptionist at her brother's dental practice. They'd been married 30 years, raised 2 kids in the same house in Cleveland they'd bought in 1995. Good people, honest people. People who would be mortified if they knew what their daughter was doing. At 7:30, I called everyone to the dining room. The table was set beautifully, my good china, the crystal glasses Robert and I got as wedding gifts, fresh flowers from my garden as a centerpiece. I'd even used the Irish linen napkins my mother had embroidered by hand and sent me when I first got married. Everyone sat down. Tyler at one end of the table, trying to play host in my house. Sienna next to him, her parents across from them. Jennifer, Andrew, and Diane spread out along the sides. The twins were in the kitchen with coloring books and chicken nuggets. This conversation wasn't for children. I served the pot roast, and everyone started eating. The food was perfect, if I say so myself. The meat falling apart, the vegetables caramelized just right, the potatoes creamy and rich. Margaret actually made a little sound of pleasure when she took her first bite. "This is incredible, Margot. You're an amazing cook." "Thank you. It's a recipe I've been making for decades. Robert, my late husband, always said it was his favorite meal." We ate for a few minutes, making polite conversation. Tom asked Andrew about his law practice. Margaret complimented Jennifer on her dress. Sienna kept looking at me suspiciously, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I let them relax. Let them think maybe this was just going to be a normal family dinner. Let their guards come down. Then, when everyone had finished their first helping and was settling in, I stood up. "Before we move on to dessert, I have something I'd like to share with everyone." I walked to the sideboard where I'd placed 3 manila envelopes earlier. "You see, I recently hired a private investigator to look into some concerns I had, and what she found was quite illuminating." Sienna's face went white. Tyler looked confused. Margaret and Tom exchanged worried glances. I opened the first envelope and pulled out copies of the text messages. These are text messages between Sienna and her boyfriend Derek Chen. They're quite recent, from last month actually. "What?" Tyler's voice was barely a whisper. I started reading, every word. Every cruel message where Sienna called him a loser, every calculation about my money, every plan to marry him, divorce him, and take half. Every promise to Derek that she'd come home once she'd secured the bag. Margaret gasped. Tom's face turned red with anger and shame. Tyler just sat there, frozen, like his brain couldn't process what he was hearing. Sienna tried to stand up. Those are fake. She's making this up because— Sit down, I said, and my voice had so much steel in it that she actually obeyed. I'm not finished. I pulled out the next set of documents. This is evidence of your gambling debts, $15,000 owed to online poker sites. And this, I held up another paper, is a statement from Cameron Roberts about the $20,000 you stole from him in college. Margaret started crying. Not delicate tears, but deep, body-shaking sobs that came from somewhere primal. The sound of a mother realizing her child was a stranger. Tom put his arm around her, but his eyes were fixed on Sienna with a look of complete devastation. Sienna Marie Caldwell, he said, his voice shaking. Tell me this isn't true. Tell me right now this isn't true. Sienna's face had gone from white to red, her perfectly made-up features twisting into something ugly. It's not what it looks like. Derek and I, we're just friends. She's taking those messages out of context. I pulled out my phone and played a voice message. Rebecca had gotten me this too, pulled from Sienna's cloud backup. It was Sienna's voice, clear as day. Baby, I know this is hard. I know you miss me. But Tyler's grandmother is sitting on millions, and he's so stupid he'll believe anything I tell him. Just a few more months, and we'll have enough to pay off my debts and start our life together. I promise. Tyler made a sound I'd never heard before, like something breaking inside him. He pushed back from the table so hard his chair fell over. You told me you loved me. You said I was the one. You said— His voice cracked. Tyler, baby, let me explain. Sienna reached for him, but he jerked away from her touch like she'd burned him. Don't touch me. Don't ever fucking touch me again. Watch your language, Jennifer said automatically, then seemed to realize how absurd that was given the circumstances. Tom stood up, his whole body rigid with anger. We're leaving. Margaret, get your purse. Sienna, you're coming with us. Daddy, please, just listen. Now! Tom's voice boomed through the dining room, and I saw where Sienna got her manipulative streak from. But unlike her, he had a conscience. His face was red with shame. Mrs. Sinclair, I am so deeply sorry. We had no idea. If we'd known what she was doing— I know you didn't, Tom. You seem like good people. This isn't your fault. Margaret composed herself enough to speak, wiping her eyes with one of my linen napkins. How much does she owe? The gambling debts? The money she stole? We'll pay it back. Somehow. We'll get a second mortgage. That's not necessary, I said gently. I'm not out any money. And Cameron Roberts, well, that's between you and him if you want to make it right. But I appreciate the offer. Sienna was still trying to salvage the situation, her brain working overtime to find an angle. Tyler, you know me. You know the real me. Your grandmother is just trying to break us up because she's jealous that you love me more than her. She's a lonely old woman who can't stand to see you happy. Stop! Tyler's voice was raw. Just stop talking. Every word out of your mouth is a lie. Everything was a lie. Oh my God, was any of it real? Did you ever actually care about me at all? The silence that followed was answer enough. I want you out of this house tonight, I said to Sienna. Not in 30 days. Tonight. Pack your things and leave with your parents. If you're not gone in 1 hour, I'm calling the police and pressing charges for fraud. Fraud? You can't prove. I can prove you used Tyler to gain access to my home and financial information with the intent to steal. Marcus Chen, my lawyer, assures me that's more than enough. So you can leave quietly with your parents, or you can leave in handcuffs. Your choice. Tom grabbed Sienna's arm. Come on, we're going. Now. They left the dining room, Sienna protesting the whole way. Margaret paused at the door, turning back to me. "Mrs. Sinclair, I don't know what to say. We tried to raise her right. We really did. I don't know where we went wrong." "Oh, sometimes people choose who they want to be regardless of how they're raised," I said softly, thinking of my own children. Andrew, who'd internalized every lesson. Jennifer, who'd struggled. And Tyler, who'd somehow become this entitled stranger. Don't blame yourself. After they left, the house fell into stunned silence. Tyler was still standing where he'd been, staring at nothing. Jennifer got up and tried to hug him, but he moved away. "Don't. Just don't. Tyler, honey, I know you're hurting. You don't know anything." He turned to face us, and I saw tears streaming down his face. "I loved her. I was going to marry her. I actually thought." He couldn't finish the sentence. Andrew spoke up, his voice careful. "Tyler, I'm sorry this happened, but you need to understand something. This is what Grandma was trying to protect you from. If you'd gotten her to sign over power of attorney like Sienna wanted, you'd be complicit in fraud right now. You'd be facing criminal charges." "I didn't know. I thought we were trying to help Grandma, to protect her." "Protect me from what?" I asked quietly. "From being competent? From managing the money I earned? Tyler, you tried to take control of my life because you wanted my money. Be honest about that at least." He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the moment reality crashed through his delusions. "Oh my God, Grandma, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Sienna kept saying, but that's not an excuse. I said those things to you. I threatened you. In your own house." "Yes, you did. I called you old and useless. I told you that you didn't get to make decisions anymore. Jesus Christ, what kind of person am I?" He sank into his chair, put his head in his hands. Jennifer was crying now too. "Mom, what do we do?" I looked at my grandson, broken and humiliated at my dining room table. The pot roast was getting cold. The apple pie waited in the kitchen. This was supposed to be my moment of triumph, my perfect revenge. But looking at Tyler's devastated face, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. "Tyler," I said, and he looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. "The eviction notice stands. You still need to leave in 30 days. The will changes stand too. You're still getting only $1,000 when I die. I know, I deserve that. I deserve worse than that. But," I continued, "I'm going to make you an offer. One chance, just one. You can take it or leave it." He waited, holding his breath. "I'll pay for 6 months of therapy, real therapy, with a good psychologist who specializes in entitlement and family issues. And I'll pay for a professional certification program in something practical, accounting, project management, IT, whatever you choose. But you have to do the work. You have to get a real job and keep it. You have to prove to me that you can build something for yourself without expecting handouts." "Why?" His voice was barely a whisper. "After everything I did, why would you help me?" I thought about that for a moment. "Because despite everything, you're still my grandson. And because I remember who you used to be before entitlement and greed poisoned you. I don't know if that person is still in there, but I'm willing to give you one chance to find out." Tyler broke down completely then, sobbing like a child. Jennifer went to him, and this time he let her hold him. Andrew looked at me with something like awe. Diane squeezed my hand under the table. From upstairs, we could hear Sienna throwing things into suitcases, her parents arguing with her in harsh whispers, the sound of my house being purged of poison. And I sat there at my dining room table, surrounded by the remains of a meal I'd cooked with love and served with justice, and wondered if I'd done the right thing. The sound of the front door slamming echoed through the house exactly 53 minutes after I'd given Sienna her deadline. I heard Tom's car start in the driveway, the engine revving harder than necessary, tires squealing slightly as they pulled away. Good riddance. Tyler was still at the table, his face buried in his hands. Jennifer sat next to him, rubbing his back in small circles like she used to when he was little and had nightmares. Andrew and Diane had tactfully taken the twins home about 20 minutes ago. Andrew whispering to me on his way out, "Call if you need anything. Anything at all." I started clearing plates, the familiar rhythm of stacking dishes giving me something to do with my hands. Jennifer stood to help, but I waved her off. "Stay with him." In the kitchen, I scraped uneaten pot roast into containers, such a waste of good food. But then again, the meal had served its purpose. It had never really been about the food. I was rinsing plates when Tyler appeared in the doorway. His eyes were swollen, his face blotchy. He looked young suddenly, younger than 23. Looked like the boy who used to help me bake cookies in this very kitchen. "Grandma, can we talk? Just you and me?" Jennifer started to protest, but I nodded. "It's okay. Go home, sweetheart. We'll be fine." After Jennifer left, promising to call me in the morning, Tyler and I stood in my kitchen in heavy silence. I dried my hands on a dish towel and leaned against the counter, waiting. "I don't know where to start," he finally said. "The beginning is usually good." He laughed, but it was bitter. "The beginning? Yeah. I guess the beginning is that I've been an entitled asshole my whole life, and nobody ever called me on it until you did." "That's not entirely true. Your Uncle Andrew mentioned it to your mother several times over the years." "Mom," he shook his head. "Mom never said no to me, not once, not ever. Even when I knew I was wrong, even when I was pushing boundaries just to see if she'd stop me, she never did. She was trying to make up for your father leaving. I know that now. But when I was a kid, I just thought I was special, thought I deserved everything I wanted because I wanted it." He pulled out a chair and sat down heavily. "Sienna knew that about me. She saw it immediately. That's why she picked me, isn't it? Because I was easy." I poured 2 glasses of water and sat across from him. "Probably. People like her, they can smell entitlement. It's like blood in the water for sharks. I really loved her, Grandma. Or I thought I did. I can't even tell anymore what was real." His voice cracked. "Did you hear what she called me in those messages? A loser? Stupid? She said I'd believe anything she told me, and she was right. God, she was so right." "Tyler, listen to me. What Sienna did was cruel and calculated. But you're not blameless here. You came into my home and tried to take control of my life. That wasn't Sienna's idea. That came from you." "I know." He put his face in his hands again. "I know, and I don't even understand why I did it. When did I become someone who could look at my own grandmother and see a bank account instead of a person? When did you start seeing me as old and useless?" He flinched like I'd hit him. "I never really thought you were useless. I think I was trying to convince myself of that because it made what I was doing easier. If you were just some senile old lady who needed help managing her money, then I wasn't stealing. I was helping. But I'm not senile. I run circles around people half my age. I know that. I've always known that." He looked up at me, and there was real pain in his eyes. "You terrify me, Grandma. You always have. You came to this country with nothing and built an empire. You worked harder than anyone I've ever met. You're smarter, tougher, more successful than I'll ever be. And instead of inspiring me, it just made me feel inadequate." I hadn't expected that. Inadequate? Yeah. Like, how could I possibly measure up to Margot Sinclair? So instead of trying, I just expected you to hand me success, your success. Because I was entitled to it, right? I was family. I had your blood. That should be enough. But it's not enough. Blood doesn't entitle you to anything except the chance to prove yourself. I'm starting to understand that." He drank some water, his hands shaking slightly. "The stuff you said about therapy and certification programs, were you serious? I don't say things I don't mean. Why would you help me after what I did? I threatened you with conservatorship. I called you incompetent. I tried to steal from you." I thought about how to answer that. The truth was complicated. Part of me wanted to cut him off completely, let him sink or swim on his own. He deserved that. But another part of me remembered sitting at Robert's funeral, watching 17-year-old Tyler sob and thinking that this boy had already lost so much. His father, his grandfather, his stable childhood. Did he deserve to lose his grandmother too? "Do you know what your grandfather said to me the night before he died?" I asked. Tyler shook his head. We were having dinner, just the two of us, and he said, "Margot, I'm worried about Tyler. He's got potential, but nobody's pushing him to use it. Everybody just hands him things." And I said, "What should we do?" And Robert said, "Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone fail, but you stay close enough to catch them if they're really falling." Tyler's eyes filled with tears again. "Grandpa said that?" "He loved you, but he saw what you were becoming, and it worried him. So here's what I'm doing. I'm letting you fail. The eviction stands. The will changes stand. You're going to have to find a job, find an apartment, build a life with your own two hands, but I'm staying close enough to catch you if you're really falling. That's what the therapy and certification program is about. It's me staying close. I don't deserve it. Probably not, but Robert would have wanted me to try. One time, one chance. Don't make me regret it." We sat in silence for a while. Then Tyler said, "Can I ask you something? When you were 22 and came here with $300, were you scared?" "Terrified, absolutely terrified. But you did it anyway." "I did it anyway. Because being scared of the unknown was less scary than staying somewhere I'd never grow." "Tyler, you're 23. You're 1 year older than I was when I started over in a foreign country. You have advantages I never had. You speak the language, you have a degree, you have family here who love you. The only thing holding you back is your own entitlement. How do I fix that? How do I stop being this person?" You start by taking responsibility. No more blaming your parents' divorce, or your absent father, or your enabling mother. Those things happened, they shaped you, but they don't define you unless you let them. You make different choices. Every single day, you choose to be better than you were yesterday. He nodded slowly. "The therapy thing. When can I start?" "I'll have my assistant set up appointments with 3 different therapists next week. You meet with all 3, pick the one you click with best. And Tyler, you have to actually go. You have to actually do the work. I'll know if you're faking it." "How?" "Because I've been reading people for 40 years. I built a business on understanding what customers wanted before they knew themselves. You think I can't tell when my own grandson is bullshitting me?" A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "No, I guess you can't be fooled." "Damn right." I stood up and started putting away the food. "You have 30 days to find a place. I'll give you a reference if landlords call, but I won't co-sign a lease. You need to do this yourself." "Okay." "And Tyler? The credit cards are canceled, all of them. If you need money, you earn it. Get a job at Starbucks if you have to." I started serving coffee. There's no shame in honest work. "I know." He stood up too, hesitated, then said, "Can I help you clean up?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw something I hadn't seen in months. Humility, maybe even the beginnings of self-awareness. "Sure, you wash, I'll dry." We worked in silence for a while, the familiar rhythm of dishes and soap and water. It reminded me of when he was younger, when he'd visit on weekends and insist on helping with chores because he wanted to be near me, before money and entitlement poisoned everything. "Grandma," he said as he scrubbed a pot, "how did you know about Sienna? What made you hire the investigator?" Instinct, mostly. She looked at my house the way a thief looks at a jewelry store. And those measurements she took of my bedroom? That was brazen even for someone planning a con. I can't believe I didn't see it. All the signs were there. You saw what you wanted to see. That's what con artists count on. They're very good at showing people exactly what they want to see. He rinsed the pot and handed it to me. Do you think I really loved her? Or was I just in love with the idea of her? Does it matter? The relationship was built on lies. Whatever you felt, it wasn't based on reality. That makes it worse somehow. Like I fell in love with a ghost. Then you learned an expensive lesson about making sure you know who people really are before you give them your heart, or access to your grandmother's finances. He winced. Too soon for jokes? Probably. But humor is how I cope with people trying to steal from me. We finished the dishes. Tyler wiped down the counters without being asked, put the dish towels in the laundry room, even took out the trash. Small things, but they mattered. They showed he was trying. When we were done, he lingered in the kitchen doorway. I should go pack, figure out what I actually own versus what Sienna bought with your credit card. Keep the clothes. Consider them severance pay for 4 months of free rent. Grandma, I'm serious. I don't want them back. But Tyler, everything else you buy from now on, you buy with money you earned. Understood? Understood. He started to leave, then turned back. Thank you for the second chance, for not completely giving up on me. For still being willing to be my grandmother after I was so awful to you. I didn't say I was willing to be your grandmother again. Not yet. You have to earn that back. But I'm willing to let you try. He nodded and headed upstairs. I heard him moving around in the guest room, opening drawers, probably staring at all of Sienna's abandoned things and feeling like an idiot. Good. He should feel like an idiot. Maybe that would motivate him to be less of one. I went to my office and called Marcus Chen. It was late, almost 10 o'clock, but he told me to call any time. Margot? How did the dinner go? Exactly as planned. Sienna's gone. Tyler's devastated, but maybe, possibly, starting to understand the magnitude of what he did. Are you keeping the eviction in place? Yes, and the will changes. But I'm offering him therapy and a certification program if he takes it seriously. Marcus was quiet for a moment. You're a better person than I am. I would have thrown him out and never looked back. I'm not sure I'm better. I'm tired, Marcus. Tired of being angry. Tired of feeling betrayed. And Robert would have wanted me to try. At least once. Robert was a good man. He'd be proud of you. After we hung up, I walked through my house, turning off lights, checking locks. The house felt different tonight. Lighter somehow. Like a pressure I hadn't realized I was carrying had been released. In the master bedroom, I looked at the photo on my nightstand. Robert and me on our 20th anniversary, standing in front of our first coffee shop. We looked so young, so hopeful, so tired but happy. I hope I did the right thing, I said to the photo. Tyler's a mess, but he's our mess, our grandson. I couldn't just let him destroy himself, could I? The photo didn't answer, of course, but I imagined Robert would have approved. He always was softer than me, more willing to see the best in people. Maybe that's what I needed right now. A little of his faith in redemption. I got ready for bed, my normal routine. Face wash, moisturizer, the reading glasses I pretended I didn't need. I picked up the book on my nightstand, some mystery novel Jennifer had recommended, but I couldn't focus on the words. Instead, I thought about the next 30 days. Tyler finding an apartment, probably something small and shabby compared to my house. Tyler starting therapy, probably resistant at first. Tyler getting a job, probably something entry-level that would bruise his ego. And maybe, just maybe, Tyler starting to build something real, something that was actually his. I thought about the certification programs I'd mentioned. It might be good for him. He was decent with computers, or project management. He was organized when he wanted to be. Something with a clear path forward, where hard work actually led to advancement. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Grandma, I know it's late, but I wanted to say I'm sorry again. Not just for tonight, but for everything. For the past 4 months. For not seeing how good I had it until I destroyed it. I'm going to do better, I promise. I stared at the text for a long time before responding. Don't promise me. Promises are easy. Show me through your actions. That's the only thing that matters. His response came immediately. I will, starting tomorrow. Good night, Grandma, and thank you. I turned off my phone and the light. Lay in the darkness of my bedroom, the one Tyler and Sienna had wanted to take from me. The room I'd shared with Robert for so many years. The room that was mine, bought with my money, in my house, in the life I'd built. Nobody was taking this from me. Not Tyler. Not Sienna. Not anyone. I'd protected what was mine. I'd delivered justice. I'd given Tyler a chance at redemption he probably didn't deserve but might possibly earn. And tomorrow, I'd start planning that trip to Portugal. Because my life wasn't over just because I was 58 and widowed. My life was just entering a new chapter, one where I made the rules. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my office reviewing investment reports when Tyler knocked on the door. Actually knocked. Waited for permission to enter. Small things, but they mattered. Come in. He looked different. His hair was cut shorter, more professional. He was wearing khakis and a button-down shirt instead of the expensive athleisure he used to live in. And he was carrying a folder. I got a job, he said, and there was something in his voice I hadn't heard in years. Pride, real pride, not the fake arrogance he'd been wearing like armor. Tell me about it. It's at a marketing firm in Cambridge. Entry-level, assistant to the social media team, pays $42,000 a year, which isn't much, but it's something. They want me to start Monday. He handed me the folder. That's the offer letter. I wanted you to see it, wanted you to know I actually did it. I read through the letter. Legitimate company, reasonable salary for entry-level work, benefits after 90 days. This is good, Tyler, really good. How did you find it? Applied to 63 positions over the past 2 weeks. Got 12 rejections, 49 no responses, and 2 interviews. This was the second interview. He sat down in the chair across from my desk without asking, then seemed to realize what he'd done and started to stand. Sorry, I should have... Sit. You're fine. I put the letter down. 63 applications. That's real work. It's humbling, actually, realizing that nobody owes you anything just because you have a degree, that you have to prove you're worth hiring. He pulled out his phone and showed me a spreadsheet. I've been tracking everything. Applications, responses, where I am in each process. My therapist suggested it, said it would help me see progress even when it felt like I was getting nowhere. You're seeing the therapist regularly? Twice a week, Dr. Patterson. She's tough. Doesn't let me make excuses or blame other people. Last week, she told me I have what she calls failure to launch syndrome, combined with financial codependency issues. Basically, I never learned to adult properly. I couldn't help but smile. Dr. Patterson sounds like my kind of therapist. She's brutal, but she's right about everything. It's uncomfortable as hell, but I think it's helping. He paused. She wants to do a family session eventually, with me and Mom, process some of the divorce stuff and the enabling patterns. Would you be willing to come to one? Not now, but maybe eventually. We'll see. Let's get through these 30 days first. About that, he pulled out another paper. I found an apartment, studio in Alston, 800 square feet, $1,200 a month. It's not fancy, but it's clean and safe. I can move in next Saturday. That's day 29 of the eviction notice. I looked at the listing. Small, yes, older building. But the neighborhood was decent, and $1,200 a month on a $42,000 salary was tight but doable. You'll be eating a lot of ramen. I know, but it's mine. I filled out the application myself, provided my own references, Uncle Andrew helped with that, and the landlord approved me based on my job offer. No cosigner, no help. I did it myself. There it was again. That pride. The kind that came from actual accomplishment instead of entitlement. I'm impressed, Tyler. Genuinely. His eyes got a little watery. That means a lot, more than you know. He stood up. I should let you get back to work. I just wanted to update you, let you know I'm taking this seriously. Tyler, wait. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. This is for you. He looked suspicious. What is it? Open it. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a letter. He read the letter first, his lips moving slightly as he processed the words. The letter said, Tyler, this money is not a gift, it's a loan. You will pay me back $50 a month for the next 8 years and 4 months, starting 3 months from now, to give you time to get established. This will cover your security deposit, first month's rent, and some basic furniture. Use it wisely. This is the last financial help you will ever receive from me unless you earn it, Grandma. I don't know what to say. Say you'll pay me back. Say you'll use it for actual necessities, not expensive clothes or nights out. Say you understand this is the last handout you're getting. I understand. And Grandma, I'll pay you back early, I promise. We'll see. I stood up and walked around the desk. Tyler, I want you to succeed. I really do. But you have to want it more than I want it for you. That's the only way this works. He hugged me then, suddenly and tight. I couldn't remember the last time he'd hugged me like that. Maybe when he was 10 years old and Robert took him fishing for the first time. I won't let you down, he whispered. Not again. After he left, I sat back down at my desk and allowed myself a moment of hope. Maybe he would make it. Maybe he wouldn't. But at least now he had a real chance. Jennifer called that afternoon. Mom, Tyler told me about the job and the apartment. I can't believe he actually did it. I can. When people are forced to grow up, they usually do. Eventually. Doctor, Patterson wants me to come to therapy with him. Work through some stuff. She paused. She thinks I need my own therapist too, for the guilt and the enabling. Do you agree? Yeah, I do. I messed up, Mom. I messed up my kid by trying too hard to make up for his dad leaving. I see that now. It's not too late to fix it. Tyler's young. You're young. You both have time to do better. Will you come to the family session when Dr. Patterson thinks we're ready? I thought about it. Part of me wanted to say no, to maintain the boundaries I'd established. But Robert's voice echoed in my head. Stay close enough to catch them if they're really falling. Yes, when the time is right, I'll come. The next week was a flurry of activity. Tyler moving out, taking only what was actually his. Me helping him carry boxes to Andrew's truck. Andrew had volunteered to help with the move, and I could see the pride on his face that his nephew was finally taking responsibility. On moving day, I went to Tyler's new apartment. It was small, yes. The kitchen was barely functional, the bathroom needed updating, and the carpet had seen better days. But it was clean, and it was his. I'm going to make this work, Tyler said, standing in the middle of the empty living room. I'm going to prove to you that I can build something real. Prove it to yourself first. That's what matters. After everyone left, I drove home to my big, quiet house. The guest room was empty now, stripped of Tyler and Sienna's presence. I'd have it professionally cleaned next week, maybe repaint it. Turn it back into what it was supposed to be, a room for actual guests, not entitled squatters. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in the living room, looking at family photos on the mantel. Robert and me on our wedding day, Jennifer and Andrew as children, Tyler as a baby, then a toddler, then a boy, then a young man. Somewhere along the way, things had gone wrong. But maybe they were starting to go right again. My phone rang. Marcus Chen. Margot, I have news about Sienna Caldwell. I thought that was over. So did I. But Cameron Roberts, the guy she stole $20,000 from, he filed charges. And apparently the Cleveland police are very interested in her gambling debts and the people she owes money to. Some of them have connections to organized crime. Good Lord. Yeah. Her parents are cooperating with police from what I hear. Tom and Margaret are devastated. They had no idea their daughter was into this stuff so deep. But here's the interesting part. Derek Chen, the backup boyfriend? What about him? He's claiming he didn't know about the con. Says Sienna told him Tyler was abusive and she was planning to leave him. He's cooperating with investigators too, trying to save his own skin. Rats fleeing a sinking ship. Exactly. Sienna's looking at fraud charges, possibly wire fraud since she used digital communications. She could do real time, Margot. I should have felt satisfaction, but mostly I just felt tired. Keep me updated, but I don't want to be involved. That chapter is closed. Understood. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and pulled up the Portugal real estate listings I'd been browsing. Apartments in Lisbon, villas in the Algarve, townhouses in Porto. Robert and I had always talked about spending extended time in Europe after we retired. He never got the chance, but I still could. I bookmarked a few properties to look at more seriously. Maybe I'd go for a month, test it out, see if I could build a life there, or at least a second home. I was 58, not 80. I had decades ahead of me, and I'd be damned if I spent them being afraid or bitter. The doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but when I checked the camera, I saw Jennifer standing there with takeout bags. "I brought Thai food," she said when I opened the door. "Thought maybe we could have dinner, just us. Talk about stuff that isn't Tyler or my failures as a parent." That sounds perfect. We ate in the kitchen, the same kitchen where Tyler had threatened me a month ago. But it felt different now. Reclaimed. Mine again. "Mom, I've been thinking," Jennifer said, twirling pad thai on her fork. "When you go to Portugal, and I know you're planning to go, I can tell, I want to come visit, maybe for a week. I've never been, and it would be nice to spend time together without all the drama. I'd like that. And maybe we could talk, really talk, about Robert, about my marriage, about how I handled being a single mom. All the stuff we avoid. I'd like that too." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, eating and just being together. Mother and daughter, without the weight of Tyler's problems between us. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "First day at work tomorrow. Nervous but excited. Thank you for believing I could do this, even when I didn't believe it myself." I showed Jennifer the text. She smiled, tears in her eyes. Maybe we actually fix this. Maybe it's not too late. It's never too late to choose better, for any of us. That night, I went to bed in my master bedroom, in my house, surrounded by my things I'd earned, things I'd protected. I thought about Tyler in his little studio apartment, probably nervous about his first day of work. About Jennifer going home to her own place, maybe finally starting to forgive herself. About Andrew and his family, solid and stable. About Robert, gone but not forgotten. And I thought about myself, Margot Sinclair, 58 years old, widow, mother, grandmother. Immigrant, entrepreneur, fighter. I'd come to America with $300 and built an empire. I'd loved and lost and survived. I'd been betrayed by my own family and found the strength to set boundaries. I'd delivered justice when it was needed and offered mercy when it might make a difference. My life wasn't over. It was just beginning a new chapter. One where I made the rules. One where I protected what was mine, but remained open to possibility. One where I could be both strong and compassionate, both tough and tender. I fell asleep thinking about Portugal, about Tyler's first day of work, about family dinners that might someday feel normal again. And I slept peacefully, in my own bed, in my own house, in the life I'd built and defended. Nobody was taking this from me. Not now, not ever.